the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. Don't be scared. Just step up. Don't be scared. To my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math. When I hate, I attack. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just step up. Don't be scared.
On avait la possibilité de les intégrer directement dans le système francophone qui était celui de la majorité du peuple, 80%. Mais je crois que les pays sont soucieux aujourd'hui d'affirmer leur identité. Et c'est pour ça que nous mettons sur pied un statut spécial qui reconnaît la spécificité de la zone anglophone, mais elle reste dans l'intégrité territoriale du Cameroun. Ça donne beaucoup de poids.
Please, if you, we understand.
On avait la possibilité de les intégrer directement dans le système francophone, qui était celui de la majorité. Mais je crois que les pays sont soucieux aujourd'hui d'affirmer leur identité. Et c'est pour ça que nous mettons sur pied un statut spécial qui reconnaît la spécificité de la zone anglophone, mais elle reste dans l'intégrité territoriale du Cameroun. Ça donne beaucoup de poids.
Please, if you, we understand.
Good evening, and welcome to this edition of broadcast here from the great state of Texas. And this is Comrade Fulton Daniel speaking here. In this evening, it's about 4:58 p.m. here in the great state of Texas, and 4:58 almost 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock Ambazonian time in the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroun. Welcome to this edition of this broadcast. Today is May the 24th for this wonderful year. I am here to first, before the discussion that I'm going to be talking this evening. But one thing I want for sure is the congratulations, the first ever Southern Cameroon Ambazonians be named such an important positions in the United States government. And that is Laura Taylor Callen. She has been considered by the most powerful president of the world, the president of the United States, Mr. Joe Biden, has chosen Laura Taylor Callen for these very important positions. And she will, if she is confirmed as an assistant secretary for defense and industrial-based policy, that is not just something that comes out of a blue. Southern Cameroon, I call it the Israelite of Africa. You all, for all of us that have known Israel, you know that I am not intended to against the Arab, but I'm simply giving factual information. And the Arab world has intended to quail down Israel, but unfortunately, Israel survived. And so too the Southern Cameroon territory. Israel is one of the most brilliant society, but yet the people of God representative, and they are still surviving till the present century, present day that we are. So today I am joining the rest of the Southern Cameroon and Ambazonians to appreciate the president of the wonderful nations who has chosen one of our own daughters to lead such a powerful organization, the most powerful. When you see United States Secretary of State speak up, it speaks because of the backing of the most powerful department, the U.S. Department of Defense. U.S. Department of Defense is not something that you want to just mingle with them. So it is the most powerful organizations that stand as the instrument and the symbol of how strong this nation is. And choosing a Southern Cameroon in a specific area of industrial development, that's to show to you that the people of Southern Cameroon is the most brilliant species in Africa. With the 50-something nations of Africa, and President Biden choosing the sons and daughters of Southern Cameroon to lead these most powerful organizations, that gives you the impressions of what the Southern Cameroon Ambazonia can accomplish. This is just the beginning. This is just history making. So that is why I am congratulate the President of the United States, because he could have chosen any person from elsewhere, but he chose the Southern Cameroon to lead the U.S. Special Department, Mrs. Laura Taylor Callen, for U.S. industrial development. But I shall come to this area to talk more about this most brilliant consideration by the Biden administration in a few minutes. Stay tuned, don't go away.
On avait la possibilité de les intégrer directement dans le système francophone, qui était celui de la majorité du peuple 80%. Mais je crois que d'affirmer leur identité, c'est pour ça que nous mettons aussi un statut spécial qui reconnaît la spécificité de la zone mais elle reste dans l'intégrité.
Welcome again to this broadcast edition. This is Comrade Funton Daniel speaking live here from the great state of Texas here in the United States. So, while we thank and appreciate the Biden administration, let's look what is Southern Cameroon. Southern Cameroon is not a province of La Republique. Southern Cameroon is not a territory of La Republique. Southern Cameroon, by virtue of the United Nations Resolution 1514 XV of 1960 or 61, the United Nations Resolution specifically stated that all those territories that were under the colonial administration be given their rightful independence. It did not say certain territory be given partial independence. The people of Southern Cameroon should have been given their rightful independence. It should have been given the rightful independence. So the suffering of the people of Southern Cameroon today is because of an injustice that were mainly upon the people of Southern Cameroon by the colonial administrative authority, the UK. And that is why, let me go to the UK Prime Minister, because that message specifically targeted the UK as a prime example. Stay tuned, don't go away.
Please, if you, we understand.
Welcome. This is Southern Cameroon, what makes news here in and around the world. So I said the Southern Cameroon questions, or the state of Southern Cameroon. The United Nations Resolution 1514 should have been given the rightful independence of the people of Southern Cameroon. It was Sir Andrew Cohen, in his, I am not sure if at the time he was in his right mind, despite the fact that the United Nations Resolution 1514 called for a complete decolonization. Southern Cameroon met the criteria of decolonization. One, they were a colonial territory. Secondly, they have a geographical location and a boundary. And thirdly, they have a people. And therefore should have been given the rightful independence they deserve. A single individual called Sir Andrew Cohen, the British administrative authority, single-handedly in a false argument stating that the people of Southern Cameroon did not merit to become a sovereign state of its own. In fact, that it was a bogus statement made by Sir Andrew Cohen in regard to the Southern Cameroon questions. First, Southern Cameroon has economic balance sheet. The Southern Cameroon has economic balance sheet that was excess surplus than the economic state of La Republique du Cameroun. The British government, in the order of council, will supply assistance to its foreign dominion, and the British Southern Cameroon will not receive any subvention from the British because they have excess in their balance sheet. But the northern state that was not supposed to be part of Southern Cameroon joined Nigeria. But they were constantly receiving subvention from the British Commonwealth Office in order to sustain itself. But hereby, the people of Southern Cameroon did not need any subvention. And yet, they were able to have an excess balance sheet. La Republique du Cameroun did not have any of those assets in their balance sheet. Southern Cameroon, you could go to a bank in Southern Cameroon and obtain a 500,000 CFA cash from a bank and approved by the bank in Southern Cameroon. But La Republique du Cameroun will have to travel to France in order to get a 500,000 loan borrowing. France has to initiate or guarantee the loan. But meanwhile, in Southern Cameroon, you don't need to travel to Britain because they have assets in their balance sheet. So it was a misguided and misjudgment of the Andrew Cohen on the question of Southern Cameroon. And that is why the people of Southern Cameroon are suffering today because of the injustice mainly upon the people of Southern Cameroon. Stay tuned, don't go away.
Francophone, qui était celui de la majorité du peuple, 80%, mais je crois que les pays sont soucieux aujourd'hui d'affirmer leur identité et c'est pour ça que nous mettons sur pied un statut spécial qui reconnaît la spécificité de la...
Let's look at in terms of population. Let's look at in terms of population. Finland at the currently is 5.531 million population. Finland is 5.531 million population. Ukraine population is 44, 1.3 million. Romania is 19.29 million. Moldova population is 2.618 million. Scotland, the population is 5.5 million. The Southern Cameroon territory is 8 million. And yet, they are not even a state of its own, despite the fact that the United Nations Resolution 1608 XV, paragraph 5, state that the government of Southern Cameroon, should initiate an urgent discussion with the government of La Republique du Cameroun. As I'm speaking in this present moment, that negotiation between the government of Southern Cameroon and the government of La Republique has not hold or held in anywhere in the planet. So if the United Nations in this 1961 recognized that there was a government of Southern Cameroon, why is it that that government doesn't exist now? It was an injustice that has mainly upon the people of Southern Cameroon with the complicity of France because of the mineral deposit in Southern Cameroon that is a prime interest of France rather than the people of Southern Cameroon in particular. As I'm speaking, the mineral and the oil deposit in Southern Cameroon in Victoria are now being siphoned to Douala, neighboring country La Republique du Cameroun, and the revenue are now being directed to La Republique du Cameroun. And yet the people of Southern Cameroon have been patient for too long. We, the people of Southern Cameroon, believe that we have had enough of this nepotism. We have had enough of this injustice, the bleeding of our souls. Today, the UK is speaking about the sovereign state of Ukraine. Ukraine was also a state of Russia. But when they become a sovereign state of its own, Russia owned no property of Ukraine. And so if Britain can recognize the sovereign state of Ukraine, Britain should as well recognize the sovereign state of Southern Cameroon. It is not because we are of the black race that cannot be recognized and therefore should not care about it. When the people of Southern Cameroon 5 years ago or 6 years ago began this protest, as you look under this broadcast, just underneath, those were the lawyers of Southern Cameroon demonstrating a peaceful march. As for equality, as for equitable resources, yet they sent the brutal force of La Republique du Cameroun to quell down a peaceful protest of lawyers demanding for equality in their own territory, that La Republique du Cameroun owes zero ownership of Southern Cameroon. And just between me in this broadcast as you watch is the first Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon, Dr. Jongo Foncha. That is the first Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon. Now let me read from the British Order of Council. Let me read from the British Order of Council in regard to the question of Southern Cameroon. The first schedule, Order of Council, revoked by this order. The second schedule, an oath of affirmation for the due execution of the office of the Commissioner. At the court in Balmoral, the 12th day of September 1960, present the Queen as the most excellent Majesty in Council. Her Majesty, by virtue in exercise of the power in that behalf by the Foreign Majesty Act, by the Foreign Jurisdiction Act of 890A, and otherwise in Her Majesty vested in pleased by with the advice of Her Privy Council to order and is hereby order as follows. Chapter 1, citation, the commencement and revocation. This order may be cited as the Southern Cameroon Constitution Order in Council of 1960. Subsection 2. This order shall come into operating on the first day of October 1960. It shall come in full effect on the first day of October 1960, provided that whereby by the order of this order of commissioner has the power to make and provide, that whereby an order of this order of commissioner has the power to make appointment, to make any order to do and any other thing for the purpose of the order, that the power may be exercised by the commissioner of the Cameroon at any time after the 60 days of September 1960. To such an extent as may, in this opinion, is necessary, as to establish the Constitution, establish this order to function from first day of October 1960. In this document, in this appearance, La Republique du Cameroun is not part of this question. The order in council specify in the first schedule to this oath are revoked in so far that they apply to the Southern Cameroon. This is not La Republique du Cameroun. Section 4, 3 and 4 of the Nigerian Appeal to Privacy Council, the order in this council of 1955, BO, are revoked in so that they appeal to the Southern Cameroons. Establishment of the office of commissioner. There shall be a commissioner for the Southern Cameroon who shall be appointed by Her Majesty, and Her Majesty sign a manual and sign it, and shall hold the office during this Majesty pleasure. The power and duty of the commissioner. The commissioner shall have the power and duty, and as conferred upon him or under this order or any other law, and such other powers and duties, and Her Majesty may be from time to time pleased to assign to him, subject to the provisions of the order, and any other law shall in such a power duty I confer. And I shall do execute all things that belongs to the office, including the respect which he or empower by this order to act in the discretion according to such a jurisdiction and instructions, if any, as Her Majesty may from time to time see it fit or fight him. The oath will be taken by the commissioner. A person appointed to hold the office of the commissioner shall be, before entering into duties of that office, take the subscribe the oath, allegiance, and oath for due execution of the office in a form set in the second schedule to this order. This is in reference to the British government and the Southern Cameroon questions. Fellow brothers and sisters, am I making sense? So a foreign nation like Republique du Cameroun has no picture in this order in council in which I am reading. You know, this order in council, this is a British order in council in reference to the people of Southern Cameroon. And yet today, we have the people of Southern Cameroon more like a province in a foreign nation like Republique du Cameroun. It is quite a bizarre situation in which the people of Southern Cameroon find themselves. And you saw the images and the burning of homes by a foreign nation on our people that are suffering in something that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Fellow brothers and sisters, we are at war, and the war is real. Let's pay attention.
Anglophone, mais elle reste dans l'intégrité territoriale du Cameroun. Ça donne beaucoup de problèmes.
We understand.
So today, or now, we have the first ever citizens of Southern Cameroon to the most prestigious position in the great country of the world, the greatest country of the planet. United States is proud today because of the amazing men and women of the Defense Department of the United States. United States stand any citizen of this great nation in anywhere he stood up, he speak and he stand with a strong voice because of the U.S. Department of Defense. It is very, very imperative and the United States to lead. It's not lead by discrimination. United States is lead by example, showing exemplary behavior that you, whether you're from where, you can become whatever you are. And in the United States, opportunity is open to all. There is the United States has break the racial barrier and discrimination. I know people will say, oh, there is, well, I know people will say, oh, there's something happening in the United States. Of course, in every family, things happen. But however, United States is the country on the planet that have break the racial barrier. The U.S. Defense Secretary is an African. The U.S. for Special Industrial Development is an African, not only from the motherland, and not only from the motherland, from Southern Cameroon in particular. That is to show to you that Southern Cameroon is the Israelite of Africa. And yet, their recognition is still suffering under the bottlenecks, being occupied, just as Israel were being occupied by the Arab world. So to the Southern Cameroon territory is occupied by a foreign nation, La Republique du Cameroun. But I am here to remind La Republique du Cameroun, time is not the essence. I want to remind La Republique that are hearing this message, that the time is not the essence. La Republique recognize and leave and let go your hold on the Southern Cameroon territory. It is important and very strategically important that you recognize the statehood of Southern Cameroon and move on. It is a matter of time. It's a matter of moment. History will change. And this is Comrade Fulton Daniel speaking from the great state of Texas, here in the United States.
La possibilité de les intégrer directement dans le système francophone, qui était celui de la majorité du peuple, 80%. Mais je crois que les pays sont soucieux aujourd'hui d'affirmer leur identité. Et c'est pour ça que nous mettons sur pied un statut spécial qui reconnaît la spécificité de la zone anglophone, mais elle reste dans l'intégrité.
For many of you that are watching this, my broadcast, especially US United States, Southern Cameroon, as you may not have known, because it's a nation that should have been given their rightful independence. The United Nations Resolution 1514 XV called for a complete decolonization. The people of Southern Cameroon met these conditions, and they should have been fully decolonized per these resolutions. Southern Cameroon was the most effective and efficient democratic country in West Africa. Southern Cameroon is the first of its kind in the entire West Africa to elect a prime minister, transfer power from one elected prime minister to the next elected prime minister. And it began with Ndele. Ndele was the first prime minister by the Order of Council, of the British Order of Council. And he was elected the first prime minister of Southern Cameroon. The second prime minister by the Order of Council was John Gu Foncha. And another Order of Council elected the next Prime Minister, Jua, by the Order of Council. So the people of Southern Cameroon exhibit a democratic form of institution, and out of a sudden, they disappear in the form of the planet and now become a province in a foreign nation, La Republique du Cameroun. It is quite a nightmare that our people need to stand up and fight for what belongs to them. Our people are being killed. Our brothers are being... We believe in the freedom to fight, freedom of liberty, freedom of equality, freedom to have our fair hearing in a justice that is equitable to the Southern Cameroon policy. We did not grow in this habitual system of La Republique du Cameroun, where the military control every aspect of individual's life. They believe they are superior being because they've been follow the policy of France. Remember that Ahidjo shouldn't have been the president of La Republique du Cameroun. It should have been the leader of the UPC. But because of their policy, France described it as a radical, just simply because they opposes France's policy in Africa. There's one clear distinction between the British system. Why I am kicking against the British system? I appreciate the British system because it's the best in what the best. The people of South Cameroon have a choice to make decisions Although those decisions are sometimes suppressed, just like the third option that our people are suffering today. The third options were suppressed by the British. But however, we have more liberty than the Francophones. And that is why the UPC won an election and could not be able to ascend into the presidency of La Republique du Cameroun because France felt that it was contradictory to their own supremacy in Africa. Our people, let's rise. Arise, our people. Let's arise and say no to La Republique colonialism. No to French colonialism. The benefit of our resources are feeding the animals of La Republique. United States. I know United States believe in alliances. United States believe in alliances. But it is good. But however, there are times or moments that United States need to step up and evaluate the content of the alliances. Whether is it mutually beneficial, not just supporting at a blindfold. The people of Southern Cameroon cannot be a province of a foreign nation, La Republique du Cameroun. The people of Southern Cameroon cannot be a province in a foreign nation, La Republique du Cameroun, because we want to benefit the interests of France. It's time the United States recognize the sovereign state of Southern Cameroon. If United States is standing against the Ukraine, therefore United States should stand against the statehood of Southern Cameroon. Injustice, equitability, and treating everyone fair should be the prime interest of the United States. Recognize the state of Southern Cameroon is the key that the United States must do. We cannot white coat and ignore the fact because we want to satisfy the interests of our friends. We need to look back, step back and look. Russia was expecting that everyone was just going to white coat what they take because they are the permanent member of the Security Council against Ukraine. If the United States stood up and the rest of other power, France is fighting, but however, white coating the problem of Southern Cameroon, preventing it to be debated at the United Nations, preventing it to be ever discussed elsewhere. No, if we are talking about justice, justice must be equitable and equal to every human. Southern Cameroon's sovereign state must be recognized. This is the order of council. This is the order of council. I am reading the order of council on the Southern Cameroon questions. Why do the people of Southern Cameroon have to suffer enormously against injustice that were mending upon them? And that is why I am here raising the alarm flag. Raising the alarm flag. We are not going to be white-coated the problems as though it doesn't exist. Recognize the statehood of Southern Cameroon is the key moving forward. La Republique need to come as a visitors in Southern Cameroon. We can have a bilateral relationship. We have to have bilateral talks, but La Republique cannot dictate on how we should be governed using their foreign policy. It is time the United States need to recognize the statehood of Southern Cameroon. If the United States is supporting the statehood of Ukraine, therefore, they should recognize the statehood of Southern Cameroon. It is injustice, and the people of Southern Cameroon will rise against injustice. Now, let me come now and speak on behalf of our people of Southern Cameroon. For those who are watching, I know there is what we call the surrogate. The surrogate are a certain categories of people of Southern Cameroon. If you are supporting a certain people that are fighting for this liberation front, when you oppose them and you speak, the surrogate become like a wild ant. They want to grip hold of you. You know what is a wild ant? A wild ant is those ants that you have. They can fight whenever you penetrate their target. They have what they call a surrogacy ant. Those surrogacy ants, they just bite irrespective of whether who is right or not. And so that is the system we have implemented among ourselves, that we are fighting this revolution. If we can take a moment and look, see what is happening in Ukraine, and that is what I call the Zelensky policy. There is one central voice, central team you hear from Zelensky on behalf of the Ukrainian people, fighting for the corrupted system of Russia, trying to invade them. Remember, Ukraine initially was part of, but they have become a sovereign state. So the people of Southern Cameroon was supposed to have been a sovereign state by United Nations Resolution 1514 XV, and it should have been fully implemented and respected. Or they should revise it and recognize it. The people of Southern Cameroon cannot be a province in a foreign nation. Back to my original topic on the surrogacy. We have to keep our doors open. We may disagree with certain principles of idea of approach, but we have a group of individuals that we should select among our best, and we put them as a unified front that can speak on our behalf. Is the key fundamental to the struggle and liberation. If we have a disagreement amongst us, we sought a team. That team will discuss those problems that we disagree upon, so that we can agree. By going insulting one another cannot lead us to anywhere. Imagine you look at the European, they call the European Parliament. The European Parliament is made of heterogeneous state of Europe. When they talk about heterogeneous state of Europe, you see France, Belgium, and the rest, you name the rest. But one important thing that brings them together is the NATO alliances. Irrespective of what, and it falls under Article 5. Article 5, if anyone touches part of the NATO alliance, they revoke at Category 5. That Category 5 automatically join them, bind them together to fight the enemy. And that's what binds them together. So the people of Southern Cameroon should learn from this a lesson. We all are scattered in these nations, United States, Europe, elsewhere. We all are embedded with this fact, and yet we cannot utilize it for our own benefit and advantage. Yet we are enemies of our own self, because we cannot stand together. We may disagree, but we can agree on a common principles that we can defeat Land Republic. We have already defeated Land Republic, but yet we have not come to a common agreement, because we have a personal, egoistic interest over the common interest of all. If all of us form a group or a task force is a more pronounced word, a task force, to unify and speak on behalf, just like the European Union speak on behalf of the European Union. The United States government speak on behalf of the state of the United States. Why can't we have this? Let us keep this policy of surrogacy. Invite your own leaders of your own constituency. Discuss how you guys to avoid and have a central voice that speak on behalf. And if you can agree on these principles, and then you have a negotiation leader that can be able to speak with the other without inject their own personal interest. And this will give us a strong voice in Southern Cameroon. We have already defeated the enemy's force of La Republic, but yet we have not come to a compound agreement, because we have a personal interest. But we ignore the fundamental question that we are fighting for, the sovereign state of Southern Cameroon. If we can create this line of communication and build this method of association to recognize one's differences and be able to work together for the common good of Ambazonians, we have already defeated but yet we haven't. There are key suggestions or principles that I would recommend. The creation of an Ambazonian currency. Why is the creation of an Ambazonian currency is very important? It's very strategic. How can it be more effective? We can create an Ambazonian currency. We can have a certain amount of the US dollar as a backing currency. That helps that amount that we hold as the Ambazonian currency start as a guarantee by the US dollar of this amount, so that if we start trading in an area that we recognize that we have achieved, then that amount we give to people for experimental study and research. Once we see how the progress, so which means if someone has a bag of cocoa or coffee, he can buy using the Ambazonian currency. But we also have a local amount that is backing that currency, because we have an Ambazonian currency. Because as we began to make these changes of behavior, we began to tune our own self against the enemy, that we are now no longer dealing with the CFA. Now let's look at the passport. We can establish a council of passport that will start producing the passport of Southern Cameroon, where the citizens shall be recognized. We made the world to understand that we will no longer accept land public passport, and that we are asking the world community to recognize. We can test the validity of this passport and find out the efficiency. For example, if we have an Ambazonian passport, myself as a citizen of the United States, most amazing nation, I can use the passport and travel to Africa or travel to a foreign nation and present it as an Ambazonian passport. Because a nation, when you declare a nation, you are fulfilling, recognized as a nation, and therefore you are exhibiting the behavior of a sovereign nation by showing the action of a sovereign nation. And by showing those actions of a sovereign nation, we produce the equivalent document that allow and permit. Once a nation accept and start to recognize that passport, now we acknowledge. I can travel to South America. Once they stamp, it means they recognize the statehood of Southern Cameroon. This is the vision that people should be having. And on the movement front, it is imperative that we start looking for more genuine principles, ideas that advance for the sovereign state of Southern Cameroon. While our Ambazonian defense system are fighting on the ground, we should be breaking the barriers of the diplomatic front by exercising and exhibiting the action that institutes us as a foreign nation, as a sovereign nation. I want to take an opportunity to thank all of you for watching. I am going to continue in this era of argument. Welcome to the Ambazonians. This is Comrade Funton Daniel, speaking live here from the great state of Texas, here in the United States. I wish you all a happy and good night.
Territorial du Cameroun, ça donne beaucoup de progrès.
Please, if you